All right, so it looks like we are good to go now. Welcome. Thanks to everyone for coming. We're all really excited that you're here. So, and I guess my appreciation is to our panelists. Thank you for coming up with this and working hard on it and being here. I really appreciate it because I truly could not do it without you. There we go. All right. So we can make this a little bit flexible if we need to. You know, some questions might take a little longer than others and things like that. But we wanted to give you an overview of what we were going to cover. We'll make sure that you get introduced to our panelists and myself. And then we're going to just spend a couple minutes talking a little bit about Denver. We'll give you time to ask a couple questions, and then we'll jump into the bulk of it, which is some things about city year that we wanted to cover. And then we'll definitely have time at the end for your questions. And so this is where it could get a little flexible if we kind of bleed over the end of the panel into the community time. Hopefully that's okay, but we wanted to leave some time at the end for all of you to just get to know each other, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable virtually. And I won't record that part. I'm just recording the panel so that if people want questions answered, they can watch that, but the community time will be just that unstructured community time. So you probably figured this out, but I didn't actually formally introduce myself. So my name is Brenna Eaton. I'm the Regional Admissions Manager for the West region that sits in Denver. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am from the Denver area. I'm from Arvada. And I did serve with City Year Boston. It was a while ago. I served in 2012. And then I will just very briefly let each of our panelists say hi so that you can see their picture pop up and get acquainted with them. And then we'll jump into some questions.
All right, so I think I'm up first. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Cow. My pronouns are he, him, his. And I proudly serve with City Year at Johnson Elementary School. I work in bilingual first and fourth grade classrooms, helping with math instruction, but in Spanish. And so if you think that math is like a whole nother language, doing that in Spanish is like a whole nother like ball game. And I'm originally from the DC area.
Hey guys, I'm Zakiya. I serve at Highline Academy, which is an elementary school. I serve with mostly fourth grade and do like an hour block with third grade. I would like to say that I like to serve all the students at the school, not just the third and fourth graders. I love them all. I was born in Georgia, but raised in South Carolina, so I'm from that area. Georgia, South Carolina area. Yeah, that's me.
Hi, my name is Katherine Easter. My pronouns are she, hers, and hers. I serve at Skinner Middle School. I primarily work with 7th grade language arts, and I also support one science classroom a day. I'm originally from Seattle, Washington, but I moved out to Denver for college a few years ago.
Hi, everyone. I think my audio is good now. My name is Chev Henry. I proudly serve at George Washington High School in 9th grade math. I'm originally from Jamaica, but you know, I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, so that's fun.
Hi everybody, my name is Iliana Medrano. I serve at Compass Academy Middle School in Southwest Denver. I help primarily in a 6th grade math class, also in Spanish, and I also support an ELD class, which is short for English Language Development. So we help, it's a class for English language learners to develop their English. and that's all great. And I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I'm big about Texas, so if anyone else is from Texas, let me know.
Awesome. So let me actually go back to our agenda for this part. So we're just going to briefly talk about Denver a little bit. I have a couple quick questions for our panelists, and they're just going to rapid fire answer those. So the first one is, what's your favorite place to eat in Denver?
Okay, I'll go first again. My favorite place to eat in Denver pre-COVID is called Avanti, and it's a food and beer hall where it's kind of a food hall where you can just go and buy the kind of food that you like. And my favorite was arepas, which are like an awesome Venezuelan kind of like sandwich, and having that and enjoying their nice rooftop, which has a nice view of downtown Denver.
That's my favorite one at Avanti too. Is the arepa.
My favorite spot is like it's a small little homey roomy spot. It's called Legends. Me and a few friends went there, and I've been going there ever since. I don't really like to eat out, but it's like real cool to eat there. A little bar, and then I think they sell like Italian food and stuff like that.
My favorite place is also a little local spot called Hong Kong Cafe. It's really good, and the owners are there, and they're really nice. And like after your meal, they always serve you like free desserts. It's just the cutest place. I love it.
My favorite place in Denver. Also, I love the Hong Kong Cafe as well. So like shout out there. But I love, it's called Pizza Fresh. It's like this little Mediterranean place, hole in the wall, but they have the best lentil soup in like the whole wide world. So yeah.
My favorite place for sure is City O City. It's a vegan restaurant. I am not vegan, but it is very good. They have really good vegan mac and cheese and seitan. I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's really good. I've gone there like 4 times, and I've only gone out to eat like 5 times since I've been here. So
It's pretty close to the office too. All right, favorite place in Denver in general?
That's really tough. I would say my favorite place in Denver is probably the Denver Central Library, which is pretty close to the city year corporate office. You can walk there, and especially the 5th floor has a beautiful reading room, which has nice views of all of Denver. And more recently, with everything shut down, I've also been trying to take advantage of all the nice parks in Denver, especially City Park. I just went on a walk there yesterday with some friends, and it's right next to the zoo, so sometimes you can see elephants on your walk, which is really nice.
That was a hard one for me too, but I don't like to go anywhere. I don't know why, but I really do like the view from my school. It has a really nice view, and I really enjoy looking out of our big windows. So yeah, in my bed. I think that's really my favorite place in Denver. It's real roomy, chill, dry.
I think my favorite place is the zoo because of the elephants. So yeah, Kevin, that's you read my mind there. But it's just really fun, and especially since we get like the EBT cards and it's $1, like I go a lot. It's so fun.
My favorite place in Denver is the Denver Botanic Gardens. You also get in for $1 with EBT, and it's beautiful there. It's my favorite place. I'm definitely missing it now during COVID and our beautiful weather that we're having in Denver.
my favorite place is also the Botanical Gardens. I think that's what you said. Yeah. And also, I just went yesterday, but City Park, it's really, really, really nice.
And then favorite thing to do on the weekends?
Favorite thing to do on the weekends is definitely get outdoors, and so go on hikes, take advantage of like the national parks, the state parks, ski if you're about that, or snowboard. There's just like so much awesome and beautiful nature in Colorado, and so I try to take advantage of that as much as I can.
For me, I go on walks like around our like area in our area. I like to walk to the store and stuff like that, just because the stores are really close on the weekends. And I just like to just let go of the week, you know, eat good, sleep in, chill, all that good stuff.
For me, I definitely enjoyed going on hikes when the weather's really nice. And then in general, just like random plans pop up all the time. And just doing those, whether it's going to zoo or botanical gardens or something, that's my favorite.
Yeah, I think you guys can kind of see a theme. We all like going outside. I'm gonna echo Kevin. I really like to hike on the weekends or ski. It's really fun. And then, like Chev said, plans always are popping up. So hitting the zoo or like the Denver Art Museum, I also love doing
Yeah, I like exploring a lot, whether it be like downtown, Tennyson Road, Street, just like different neighborhoods. There's a lot of little niche areas around, and it's really cool. Also, going outside, I'm from San Antonio, Texas, so it's like really flat. So I thought like a hill was a mountain back then, and it's not. So it's really cool to see that what real mountains are here.
Cool. So, like I said before, we have time for questions at the end. But if there's any like quick questions about Denver before we jump into city year stuff, feel free to say it or put it in the chat. I can't see the chat, but our panelists can. They're in charge of moderating that. All right, we'll just jump forward, but we can ask later as well. So first up for our panelists, what are your tips on budgeting on a core member stipend?
I'll go. So one of my tips, I kind of wrote my stuff down, but definitely track everything, which is obvious, right? But I don't use the phone apps. I actually have like a section in my bullet journal to track my expenses. So it's easier to see. And I've also just kind of like a big rule of thumb. I mean, we are doing like volunteers, like I've been telling myself, like, I don't need to live luxuriously. I don't, there's a lot of sacrifices you kind of have to make to be able to live within your budget. So making, like, prioritizing things, and, if you're a list maker, make a list of what you really need in your life and what you don't, and start cutting things if you need to.
Yeah, going off of that, be honest with yourself when you're making your budget. If you need like Starbucks coffee 4 times a week, that's fine, but just account for that. I also don't use like an app. I used to use an Excel spreadsheet. I know a lot of people like the apps, but for me, Excel just works the best. So,
yeah. For me, when I started out, I also used an Excel spreadsheet, but then I turned towards an app. It's called Mint, and it's like really useful to just track like what you spend and like how much you spend on it, and it just gives you a nice visual of like, okay, this is this much for rent, like this is coming out, and then it gives you like a weekly email like, you spent this much this week, like maybe let's cut back on spending at Target or something, so I really like it.
I think that for me, the number one thing that's helped me stay within my budget is becoming friends with the lunch ladies in my school, and they feed me a ton. Um, but in all seriousness, here in Denver, I actually don't have a car, and so I have been able to save a lot that way. City Year provides transit passes, and so you can use the public buses for free through City Year, and which has really helped a lot with my transportation costs and keeping things down. I carpool with a coworker to work, and so all of that has really added up and helped me stay within my budget.
For me, I would just say that to be intentional about like the things that you're buying, like, do you really need this stuff? And like, I really don't eat out a lot, and I think that helps me save money, because I remember when I did eat out, I didn't save a lot of money. And then like, just like when you go to the grocery store, I think that's a big factor too. Like the small stuff that we use, just be like intentional about that stuff. Like, do I really need this, or how can I use this in a different way, or can I naturally make this? So yeah.
That's another thing I wanted to add. Cooking your own food, which seems like an obvious thing, but an Instapot is a very good investment. I've used it a lot. It's just a pressure cooker, but you can cook a lot of things in it. And like meal prepping doesn't have to be like this fitness Instagram meal preps. You just make a bunch of food on Sunday and put it in Tupperware, and you're ready for the week. Like, it doesn't have to be this whole process, but that definitely saved my life a lot. Meal prepping and like not going out to eat during my service, like during lunch and stuff. I always brought my lunch, brought snacks, and just cooked a lot. So
adding on to the groceries and the food, definitely apply for EBT or food stamps. They're great. You also can get, like what we mentioned before, $1 entry to pretty much every museum in Denver, which is also really cool. And when there's farmers markets, a lot of farmers markets take EBT, so you can just go and buy like fresh fruit, fresh produce, and all this nice kind of expensive stuff with EBT, which is really nice.
And that's an AmeriCorps benefit, and so during training and registration, then City Year is going to help you with the registration and paperwork with that, which is very helpful.
Yeah, ditto to the not eating out a lot. As a Corps member, I did occasionally, like for birthdays, we might go somewhere. But otherwise, like my only real eating out was like the train stop where my teammates and I said goodbye. There was a Wendy's. So sometimes on Thursdays, we would all go to Wendy's and then go home. And like, that was really our only eating out stuff. So next question is, tell us a little bit more about like your living arrangements now. Do you live with other Corps members? Do you not? Do you recommend that? And like anything that's kind of gone well with your housing or roommates that you want to talk
about? I'll go first. I live in a duplex, so I don't know if anyone here is living in that duplex with Katherine Apt. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I am, and then Cameron is. Oh,
hi! I see you. Hello. Yeah, so I live in a duplex with 5 other AmeriCorps members. It was pretty last minute, but one good thing is that we can carpool because a lot of us work at the same school. So 3 of us do. So we carpool a lot. So we save gas that way. And then whenever we have like the professional development days for like the whole citywide thing, we kind of all carpool together. But it was a little hard because it was super last minute. So some advice I would give is like get to know your roommates before you decide to live with them, and try not to live with a bunch of AmeriCorps members, I guess, because it might just be kind of overwhelming, but it just depends on you as a person. And then this is just my style of living, but definitely have like a meeting, you know, like before we start the year, have like a meeting, talk about rules, general courtesy, like things like that. Because if you're going to be living together with any roommates, like you want to definitely have rules set, or not rules, but at least some expectations and guidelines, because you're going to be living together. So
yeah, I definitely agree with the setting some rules in that first meeting. It's super important to set the precedent for the rest of the year. But I don't live with core members. I live with 3 DU grad students. I actually really like it because it helps to like give a clear separation of like work and home. It's nice, and it also gave me like a separate group of friends that I can just like, it's not all city year all the time, which is really, really nice. It also gave me just like some other connections and just some people I knew I could turn to just in case anything ever happened. So if you're ever looking for those, that would work really well. Looking on the Denver housing groups and stuff like that. Like there are a lot of people looking for roommates, and it's really useful. You can find a lot of people like around your age group and stuff. So I'd recommend that.
Yeah, so I have 2 roommates. I have one who's in city year and one who's not in city year. Um, I have a little bit of a different situation because like I knew my roommate who's in city year, we were like best friends in college. So we kind of already had that relationship before going into city year. If you are living with like a bunch of people from city year, I do think it's a good idea to establish like we can talk about work maybe for the first hour when we get home, and then we're going to stop talking about work. A lot of times with city year, it becomes all city year all the time, which can get really, really tiring and really draining. And definitely, I'm going to echo Chev. Facebook has a ton of like Denver roommates, Denver housing, and definitely look into those if you are looking for roommates and are maybe not finding that within city year.
And all those Facebook groups are listed on the housing page under like renting advice in Denver too. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. Yeah. Similar to Catherine, I have 2 roommates, one of whom is in city year and then one of whom is not currently in city year. He did city year the year before, but currently works for an education startup. And so that has been a nice balance of like city year and not city year. And I feel like really lucky with my roommate situation. Everybody's like very chill and laid back. We get along really well. We haven't really had to have like formal meetings or anything like that. And everything's worked out pretty well. But yeah, we're living with roommates and finding kind of like shared housing is a great way to reduce your expenses as well and pay a little bit less on rent.
For me, it's a little bit different. Like I'm very particular about like things in my house and things like my bathroom, my kitchen, all that stuff. So I couldn't do a roommate. I already knew that coming in, gonna be honest. So I actually do live with my boyfriend though. He came with me. So it was a little bit easier having that. So yeah, that's just me. I wouldn't do a roommate just because of how particular I am, even with a spouse or something like that. But yeah. If you have a good relationship with your boyfriend or girlfriend, it is okay to do it. But if it's not good on the way coming up, don't do it. I'm just say that. Just putting that out there. My relationship with my dude is really good. We was living together even before we even came up here, so I knew it would be okay. So yeah.
And then we structured these out. So the next part was going to be like, what are your housing tips? I think we kind of already covered it a little bit, but what other tips for finding housing do you have? Or like, how did you find your housing?
I can go. It was very easy for me to find housing because, well, I ain't gonna say it was easy. It was a little process, but it was definitely easier when I found out what school I was attending. or that I want to serve at, so I can live in that area and live like at least close to or like halfway to the Denver site office and halfway to my school, which is where I'm at. I'm like in the middle, and then I'm like on the way for everybody. So if I need a ride, I can get a ride. Like it was really like I would look for somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, the how I found mine was actually through like another core member, but from last year. But I'm looking for housing right now. So some good tips, some good websites are Zillow and Trulia. But also just in Denver, just I kind of had to change my mindset about it because Denver people don't list things until like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the move-in date, and that is way different than like if any of you some of y'all probably been in college and the apartments there, like you book them like in May and move in August, like it was like months ahead, so it's like way different. So don't freak out yet if you don't have something, but do constantly like keep checking those websites and Craigslist. Just be careful on Craigslist, but the Facebook groups and stuff, like I check it every day. And just, we also have like make sure you have everything when you're applying. We have the little letter of employment, so people don't think that you aren't making any money. So it's like proving to them that you are making money and you're eligible or able to pay the rent.
Yeah. Echoing that, the rental market in Denver moves really fast. If you are looking at places now, but you don't want a lease to start until like early mid-July, they're not going to be available. So definitely look. You can really get a good feeling of like prices, how much you can get for how much money, but don't fall in love with any place unless you're like, I will start renting now and pay like 4 months of rent before I'm actually in Denver. Definitely also, Brenna has so many housing resources. Look at those. She has a neighborhood guide. It's so helpful. I will like that's like my number one tip is like start with Brenna and like look at all the websites Iliana just said. I'm also gonna say Craigslist is kind of iffy. I would not look at Craigslist because you might get scammed.
Yeah, you pretty much said what I was going to say, Catherine, but I was also going to add that I found my housing because we had a Facebook group and Brenna like shared a post in our Facebook group and I just kind of clicked on it and went for it. I liked like the Facebook aspect of it because you can just kind of look and see the people to see if they're like real people who are posting housing. So that's really nice. So you can like scroll through and kind of get a background of the person before you commit to anything. So yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't posted any of those yet because of exactly what y'all already said, which is the ones coming up are for like now. But I'm in a lot of those groups, so when I see them, I try to share them. But don't rely on me. Join those groups yourself.
I have
But I'm glad that's how you found it.
I have another quick tip. Something I did badly. I actually I had the ability to fly here in last May and check out apartments, and me and my roommate like found one and we gave them a security deposit because we were really sure about it, but then we ended up not making the income requirement because a lot of places will say you have to make like 2.5 times the rent. So we didn't know that. So be aware of that because my flight was like in 2 hours and I had to go and get my security deposit, and it was just crazy. It was like $500 security deposit, so I like almost lost it. But just be wary of that, like read the fine print, and I'm really embarrassed that I did it, but I'm just telling you so you don't make that mistake. And I think I saw a question in the chat that was saying, when do we find out? We don't find out until like late July, I think, but something that you can do is what I did is I pulled up the map of like where the schools are, and I kind of had them double screen, like split screen with like when I was looking for apartments and stuff, and that really helped because you can kind of find something in the middle, like you can use the map as a reference for that.
Some middle
Yeah, and
school, they had city year offered transitional housing, and I think that was very helpful in my move here. So yes, thank you so much, city year, for that.
I was going to jump on the school one too. So I think Iliana's advice is perfect. At most city year sites, you don't find out your placement until about a week into BTA, it's Basic Training Academy. So we usually tell people on that first Thursday. And there's a lot of reasons for that and why the organization has done that for years. You can also, the FAQ sheet, the frequently asked questions on the main page that I send you to when you confirm, I would read through that if you haven't already, because it's covered there. But we let you preference your schools too. So if you find housing, you know, in Northwest Denver, then you can preference schools on the west side. If you're not willing to drive to the schools in the east, then don't preference those. So this year, I believe like 90% of y'all got within your top 3. Everyone got within their top 4 except for one person. And we spoke with the one person that got their 5th choice. So we take the preferencing seriously. We also look at addresses. So just try to find housing near schools that you think you might be interested in. And then we will take all of that stuff into account in the placement survey, if that makes sense. Panelists, did I cover that or did I leave anything out? Okay. And we're also going to see if we can do some sort of opt-in for some of our schools that are a little farther away this year, but that's something that our impact team is working on. And so if we do that, obviously we would let you all know. So awesome. So moving on from housing, Iliana is just going to give us like an overview of your role as a student success coach and core member at City Year, and then we'll jump into some other service-based stuff.
Do I have a time, like, or?
No, but maybe 2 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so just basic overall, as a core member, it's kind of been hard to describe it, but it's really you're a student success coach. So you're not like a teacher's aide or anything. You are there to support teachers, but for the most part, you're there to support the students. It's going to look different in every school with every team, but some of the consistent things that you can that we are going to have are things like morning greetings. So most schools are at the entrance of the school. The core members will stand there and greet students coming in the mornings. Like at my school, we play music and we're just like, hey, good morning, like have a good day, stuff like that, getting them ready for the school day. And then we also have focus lists. So I won't go too much into it, but it's just several lists that we have focusing on attendance, behavior, and content. So these are just a list of students that I think you can choose or you're assigned, but you like have small groups with them. So my math focus list, I would pull them out and we would work on math together. And most of the time those students were like either a year or a year and a half behind grade level. So you're working with them to try to get them back up to grade level. And then attendance is working with some students that aren't really coming to school a lot, and you're just setting behavior goals, attendance goals with them to come to school and maybe problem solving, like why they aren't coming to school so much. And then behavior list is just making behavior goals with students every week. And that can vary from like, I'm going to finish all my work in class, or I'm going to go to all my classes, or I'm not going to be late this time, and things like that. And then another thing that is kind of consistent across is extended learning time, which is just like after school programming. Again, this looks different in every school. Some schools have programs already set up and you just support, while other schools they are the ones who create the after school program, and they are in charge of like making the clubs and things like that. But it looks different at all the schools. But those are, I think, the top 3 things that are pretty consistent site-wide, as your role as an AmeriCorps member, an AmeriCorps member. But yeah, that was kind of fast, but.
I think you did great, thank you. And then Katherine, can you jump in a little bit more about some of the like data and tracking that we do?
Yeah, so like Iliana mentioned, we track in 3 areas, and we usually refer to them as the ABCs, so attendance, behavior, and course performance. So I'm not going to go into like how they're selected. You have a total of usually 20 kids, and that's 10 academic, 5 attendance, 5 behavior. So it's going to look a little different with academic, like based on how your principal and your impact manager and your partner teacher think about how they want to approach that list. Behavior, we have a bit more say. Behavior focus list, we are basically focusing on like helping the student improve behaviorally. So we use a couple of different assessments. We use one called the holistic student assessment, and that's the kids take it and it's their perception of like interpersonal skills as well as like academic motivation skills. And then we take an assessment of our view on them, which is called the DESA, and I don't remember what it stands for. I'm very sorry. And basically it asks us similar questions, and it gives us like what their like glow areas are and what grow areas are. Don't worry too much about data and tracking. You'll learn so much about it during BTA. It's nothing that you need to concern yourself a lot with now. Your impact manager will support you so much with the process of selecting, and it's really just a way for City Year to track this information, but it's nothing too complicated or intense.
Cool, thank you. I think what came out in some of that is how things are different school to school, and that's part of our role in City Year, is adapting to our school to fit the needs of our school and our kids. So there will be things that look a little bit different school to school, and it's because we are trying to be holistic and support those particular communities in that way. And we have to track growth and kind of measure where our students are to make sure that they are growing and that they are learning. So that's why it's just important that we do all of that stuff as well. Cool. Zakiya, did you have something you wanted to add there, or did I misremember that? It's okay. I think it was just in-kinding is one other thing that everyone will do.
I'm sorry. Sorry. We do in-kinding, which is like where we reach out to different businesses and organizations that give us donations of like food or like props for events that we host. Like, for example, we host teacher appreciation events for the teachers and stuff like that. And our team always calls Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, and we get free coffee, we get free donuts. We also call Voodoo Donuts, and we always get like tons of donuts from them, different kinds of donuts. So yeah, that's in-kinding.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, because that's something everyone will do, is like make those calls and things. So awesome. So my last like formal question for each of you is, how has your perception of service changed from the beginning of the year till now?
I can go ahead. Okay, when I first started, I was so nervous because I was like, oh no, what kind of classroom am I going to end up in? I'm with high schoolers, like what's going to happen? But I would say nerves are normal, but don't worry too much about it and kind of trust the process. I ended up in a math class. I originally wanted English, but I was like, okay, I'm here in math, and I wouldn't change anything. I love the math department at my school so much. I love being in the math class, like, and working with students on math. So I would say, like, don't stress yourself out about those aspects as much. You will land where you belong, I promise. And then I would also say your role is going to look different, like, depending on who you are. For everyone, it's going to be completely different. I'm at a first-year partnership, so it's our first year at this school, and I had no idea what to expect, but going in, I thought I would mostly be focused on the academic side of things and, like, tutoring and working on, like, all those little things. But the way my role has evolved, specifically at my school, I mostly deal with, like, the social emotional stuff. So anytime students have a problem, they usually end up coming to me. We talk it out. We talk with administration, school counselors. Like, that's just how my role evolved. Whereas, like, my teammate, he does a lot of translation for the math department and sometimes the English department. So it's going to look different for everyone, and it's going to be tailored. Your role is going to be tailored based on the strengths that you have and the things that you bring in to the core, because everyone brings in something different. So don't worry too much, and just, like, trust yourself and trust the process, because you'll end up where you belong.
I'll go. For me, I really wanted to do a middle school because I really want to be a middle school teacher, 7th grade teacher. And I didn't get that, which was okay. I was like, okay, maybe I can, do elementary and try it out. And I absolutely love it. I love the kids. The kids love me. I really love, like, the school I'm in is very like welcoming, and they're very supportive. I really wanted something to help me build my career, or, like, help me build up what I really want to do in life. And I feel like City Year is very good at, like, helping you work on where you want to be and where you're headed. And yeah, I really appreciate that aspect of it. So I wasn't thinking I was getting any of that. I didn't know what I was walking into. Really, I kind of just, like, took a limb. My cousin actually told me about it, and I was just like, okay, I'll sign up, whatever, cool. And she was like, I'm not going anymore, at the last minute. I was like, well, I'm still going. And yeah, so I have grown a lot, and I really appreciate the fact that I've grown a lot in the ways that I needed to, especially for my career, because I started out doing daycare, and now I'm in elementary, and now I know when I get to middle school, I'm going to be a bomb, because I did it all.
I know this is for you all, but Zakiya, that's totally true. Like, when I did City Year, I served in a middle school, and I wanted to serve in a middle school, and that's, like, where I love to be and where I thrive. But I've now worked with pre-K, not just a different placement process. I've worked with pre-K, I've worked with 1st through 3rd, I've worked with high school, I've worked with kids ages 3 to 18 now. And even though some of those times weren't my favorite, like, as far as resume stuff goes, like, I can now tell anybody who interviews me that I've literally worked in depth with every single age group. And that's, like, that's such a benefit to me, even though initially I was, like, really nervous. So sorry, that just made me think of it, but thanks for letting me jump in.
Okay, I'll go. Okay. I did not want to be in middle school at all. I was terrified of middle schoolers. My brother is middle school age, so I was like, nope, nope. I've worked in elementary school. I taught marching band in high school. Like, I knew I wanted to be in either or, but I got put in a middle school, and I would not want to be anywhere else. I love it. I work with Clara Hahn. She's on this call. Hey. And Compass Academy is just really awesome. And middle schoolers, it's really funny. They're just in a really weird state of life. And it's kind of fun being there for them during this crazy weird time for them as well. So it's really fun. And I definitely would drop any, like, really hard set expectations you have which I think was a big learning curve or learning process for me. I really, I'm a planner, and I have learned to just kind of go with the flow and let go of my expectations for things, especially in this line of work, because you can't really plan for everything. You don't know how a kid's going to react to you saying this or that, or, there's coronavirus happened and now we're all online, and, it's just, you just have to take it as it comes. And I think that's one of the biggest learning things that I've learned from being a Corps member, that I can take for the rest of my life, because I'm a lot less stick to the plan now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Coming into this year, you obviously have expectations, you have ideas of what your service year is going to look like. To the best of your ability, I would say to lessen those expectations. But definitely for me, coming into this year, I was like, I'm going to be tutoring like so many kids, and like this is going to be so great. And I love tutoring, don't get me wrong, but like the social emotional aspect of our work is way more important to me than the tutoring side of it, which is something I didn't really expect coming into this. And definitely, I know we talked about school placement a little bit earlier, but I just want to say again, trust the process. And also, if you don't get your number one school, like I did not get my number one school. I am very far from my service site, but I would not want to be at any other school. And you have to just kind of let go of that. Even if you're like, oh, the school would have been perfect for me, trusting the process and giving yourself all to your school and really trying is like the best advice I can give you, because you will love your school. You just will. You'll bond with your teammates. You're going to make great relationships with the kids, and you just have to trust the process and let go of the expectations and ideas that you had coming into it.
So I work in an elementary school, and I wanted to work in an elementary school because I had a second grade teacher who was really like impactful in my education growing up. And it's been really great, but it's also been really challenging at times. Just coming from, from university and steeped in academia, reading like academic journals and things like that, to working with first graders who like throw a temper tantrum when you're trying to like teach them like, single digit addition, or, having a first grader like throw up on me, which did happen this year. And I would say despite all of that, despite the lows and despite the challenges, I think that our work is really meaningful, and it really like gets me going every day. And just, despite the long hours and despite, I don't know, the stressful week sometimes, I really enjoy like, at the end of the day, everything is, we know that our work is worthwhile and meaningful. And I just think of, I was going over my notes from city year, like I kept a log of like funny things that happened, or like things that like, I don't know, were meaningful to me. And I came across like one note that I wrote kind of earlier this year. My partner teacher during morning meeting, the question of the day was, who inspires you? And one of my fourth graders said, Mr. Kevin inspires me. And that was like really, really touching, and just like, yeah, really hit me in the feels. And so it's those moments that like really make it worthwhile.
Can I add something, Brenna?
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing that I didn't expect coming in was a lot of the enormous amount of support that City Year like staff has for us, especially with just like professional development and your LACY, which is an acronym for Life After City Year, like getting you set up with like resumes, how to do interviews. I have networked more this past year than I have in my whole entire life. I have lawyers' numbers in my contacts. I have law students. There's just so much, and I've been to like conferences and conventions like NAACP, and there's just so much professional growth aside from like service too. It's amazing. It's really awesome. So that's a big plus too that I did not expect, but it was still really, really cool.
on that, I just thought about my mentor. You all get mentors, and my mentor is one of my favorite people in the entire world. She has like given me so many connects and has just been there to like support me or just be like, let's go out to lunch. I'll pay. You're on a stipend. Don't worry about it. And it's just like those little things and having someone that's just like, I'm here for you and everything that you need. Like, it's really, really nice. So when you get your mentors, take advantage of them. Like, they really truly do like care about you and your development. So like, make that connection. It might be a little weird at first, but like, push through that. It's incredibly worth it.
And that's what networking is you've got to be able to reach out and like make that approach or first step. You know, Iliana's networkers didn't all just walk up straight to her and say hello. Like, you do have to like have that moment of being uncomfortable and put yourself out there. But if you do put yourself out there, there's a lot of different ways to like learn and meet people and grow from that. So and I was just gonna add, I also kept a journal and like kept a lot of that stuff. So I concur. We were pretty much right on time, which is awesome. So I want to open it up for questions, but before we do that, can we just have, if you're a returning Corps member that isn't on the panel, can you just like really briefly just introduce yourself, pronouns, where you serve, and maybe where you're from, really briefly, and then we'll just do questions.
Hi, my name is Clara Hahn. I proudly serve at Compass Academy Middle School with Iliana. I'm originally from Northern Michigan, and I went to school in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, sorry. And yeah, I'm really excited to meet everyone, hopefully in person soon.
Hi everyone, my name is Liv Arbach. I'm currently serving at Denver Discovery School, and I'm from LA, but I went to school out here in Boulder. And yeah, excited to meet everyone.
Hi all, I'm Andrew Coos. My pronouns are he, him, his. Currently, I'm serving at Noble Elementary Middle School at City of Detroit, and I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I'm really excited to make the move here in July.
I think we've got two more at least. Trevor and Jordan are here, but you can also introduce yourself in the chat if you want. I'm trying to check if there's anybody else that I missed.
Hey guys, my name is Jordan. I'm currently serving at a Carver High School in New Orleans, and I'm really pumped to get out to Denver. I've heard nothing but good things about Colorado. I'm just ready to get out there and meet everybody. So happy to be here.
Hey guys, I'm Trevor Stone. I also served in New Orleans at a Carver High School this year in the 9th Ward. It was a really enjoyable experience, and I'm ready to just like continue my growth as a person and as a city here next year. I'm becoming back as a service leader, and I feel like that's kind of a new position. I don't know, they may have just renamed something, so I'm really excited to see like where that takes me, and like I'm excited to meet my team and just get out there and meet everybody. Like I mean, just kind of mimic everything what everybody else said. Lots of excitement.
Yeah, so when I say Rackham, it's returning AmeriCorps members, someone who's served and is coming back, and you can come back as a second-year Corps member, serving full-time with students in the classroom. And then we also have the service leader position, and the position itself hasn't changed. Denver has always had senior Corps members, and so you support part-time in the classroom, and then the rest of that time you have some additional leadership opportunities and you help support your team. And City Year nationally now has that position and they call them service leader. We've just had them for longer, so we're just changing the name to match everybody else. But that's kind of what that means. So I think that was all our returning folks. There's a couple more people that aren't on the call, and that's totally okay. But otherwise, time for questions, take it away, and when questions are over, I'll stop recording.
Brenna, do you want, we could go over the daily schedule, maybe? Put that back on and then we can like each talk about
I can put it.
If
I can put it back up, and if people can use the chat too.
So this graphic kind of shows a day in the life of 5 core members here in Denver, serving at 5 different schools, whether that be elementary, middle, or high school. The red, as you can see, most of the schedules run from about 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. The red is city year specific stuff, and so each site starts the day with the first circle and ends the day with the final circle. And does morning reading in the mornings. Some sites do breakfast support, etc., as well, with students getting breakfast and doing check-ins during that time. Green is to represent in-class support, and so that's supporting students and teachers in the classroom. Blue is to represent planning periods. Yellow is to represent support out of the classroom, so whether that be during lunch or recess, or ELT, which is extended learning time, or sports and clubs and things like that. And I think that those were all the colors. So.
One thing I would say about the schedules is that everyone, this is like really broad, but like everyone's just gonna look different, even on your team. Like no 2 schedules are really gonna look the same. And those planning times, like for high school, I would say that's just like very bare bones, because that's like my Monday, Tuesday, Friday schedule, whereas like Wednesday and Thursday are block days and they have a completely different schedule. So like don't be thrown off if you like go into service and it looks nothing like any of these. It's just going to vary based on where you are and like what the school needs from you specifically.
Yeah, like my school has early dismissal on Monday, so the schools, we actually don't go till 4:30, we go till 1, but well, the students do, but the teachers like have PD and stuff, so that's like a different thing. But also just what Chev was saying, from core member to core member, even on your own team, like my planning block was till, I didn't get lunch until like 2, I think, or like 1:30, but like one of my other teammates got it at like 11, you know? So it just differs. But this is, yeah, it's like pretty bare bones. This one is a really, thank you, Kevin, for making an awesome graphic.
We actually have a few questions in the chat, which I'll read out the first one. This question is about the stressors and emotional drain that some members were talking about. Is it enough to just make a clear separation of work from home life, or what are some additional pieces of advice or tips to taking it all in stride? So I'll actually start with this one. I think starting with a good separation of work and home life, like my IM was very clear that he's like, you guys don't need to do work at home. He's like, there's no reason you should be doing work at home. Another tip that I have is definitely, if you have a rough day, like definitely talk to either your friends back home, your family, your teammates, like talk to someone you know and trust, because that can really be helpful. City Year has a couple benefits. One is Talkspace, which I don't know a whole lot about, but Brenna knows about, and she could direct you to some resources there. But basically, it's something you can talk to someone like a counselor therapist type person and get some additional support with that. And just I would just say setting up really clear boundaries with yourself of like how much time you're going to talk about City Year outside of work, and if you need additional support, your IM, your service leader, and City Year staff is really helpful and available for you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, going off that, I actually there's a pro bono social worker therapist and from City Year, and I actually like have set up appointments with him and stuff, and it's been a really awesome thing that City Year has done. Like the mental health supports has been really awesome. So that, and then also just like my plug would be definitely find something that takes you away. So like my thing, I really like working out. I really like going to the gym. Vasa up here is like really, really inexpensive. It's like a Planet Fitness, but way bigger, and I think better. It's $10 a month. Anyways, working out, I would put it in my calendar, just like make an appointment with myself to do that, because I just know that that would make me feel a lot better. And then also making time to call friends and family, and really being honest with yourself, like where you're at mentally and stuff, and communicating with your partner teacher. Or your partner teachers, like if you need a break or something, like don't try to be a hero. What the work that we're doing is really, really hard, and like you don't want to burn yourself out sooner than you need to.
I would say too, with your work-life balance and stuff like that, just be open about your experience, and like everyone said, really just do talk to different people about what you're going through. Don't hold it all in. And don't take it home with you. Like, don't take the problems at the school or whatever emotional things that you go through at school. Try not to take all that home with you and let it be a part, or let it consume you. Like, because some stuff you just can't handle. I mean, you can't save or be the hero of, like Iliana was saying. So yeah, she's definitely right about all of that.
Something that came to my mind is we had a partnership this semester with the Carriage House, which they do counseling, and they offered like free counseling to Corps members, whether it was individual or group counseling. And I actually know the owner of it, and she's really, really sweet, and she really wants to help like Corps members just process a lot of like everything that we deal with on a day-to-day. So that's a resource, and I know she wants to continue that going into the next year. So there's that. And then another thing I think that helped me a lot was joining a group. So here at Denver, like we have a Melanin Magic one, and it's just like a nice space where we can all go into and kind of just like talk about all the things we're experiencing at our schools, or maybe that our students are experiencing, and just like talk about the different aspects of that and how we can move forward. So I would say like City Year has a lot of different supports in place to help you if you need it. All you have to do is ask.
Another quick thing, take care of yourself whenever something happens. Like if something happens with a student, or a student like shares something with you that is like really hard for them, like just know that it's going to be hard for you as well, and take care of yourself if that happens. Like talk to whoever you need, obviously like within confidentiality, but just take care of yourself like if stuff like that does happen, because some of the kids are going through really hard times right now, and they tend to share that with you sometimes. And just taking care of yourself, and like that secondhand trauma kind of stuff.
So I'll jump in for the next one then. I actually was on a call today for 2 hours about COVID planning and what that might look like and messaging around that. And I totally understand how like disconcerting it could be to not have an answer yet, because I feel that. I guess what I'm pushing for is like a timeline for us to be able to share what that looks like, because it's pretty important. Unfortunately, I don't have, like, that's not my role, so I don't have a lot of control over that. But there is and has been for weeks a lot of talk with leadership at every site about what that will look like. So it's definitely something that people are talking about and planning. They just all have to be on the same page to kind of roll that out. So we are looking at trying to do like a virtual registration. Registration is the 13th and the 14th. There's just a lot of, AmeriCorps has a lot of stipulations and requirements about what that registration and onboarding needs to look like. So City Year is doing a lot of talking and meeting with AmeriCorps around that and seeing what we can do. So there's a chance registration could be virtual. And then as far as training, if it's not virtual, I think the hope right now is that we would do like rotating small groups and stuff so that you won't be completely isolated. This could change, but like right now, examples of that might be, targeted training for everyone in the high schools and everyone in the elementary schools, et cetera. Or it could be neighborhood based. If you're working in the Northwest with feeder schools at North, maybe you'll all be a cohort. So like I said, some of that hasn't been confirmed, but there's a lot of work being done at HQ to talk about that, and I hope we can share more soon, especially about that registration piece, because I know that's really important. And then I did see, I'm not sure what contact tracing in relation to AmeriCorps members means. If I didn't cover it, feel free to jump in.
That was my question. I was just going to ask, there was like some legislation that was being proposed to use different public service organizations like AmeriCorps to do contact tracing for like the COVID if it continues to be like really, really bad. So I was just wondering if you heard anything about that. If not, that's totally fine. I was just, because if schools are closed, like, and we're not necessarily doing online education for students, then maybe we'd be used for that. So that was my question.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that made more sense as I heard that. I will say I don't have enough information right now to answer that. That being said, I can ask about it, but I don't believe that's something that City Year is doing right now. I think that would probably start with FEMA Corps, and then in CCC, City Year would probably be one of the last organizations to move that way, because we've been around for so long. And AmeriCorps was actually founded after City Year, so a lot of the things AmeriCorps does were based on City Year. I don't mean that to sound like pretentious, but because we're such a large portion of AmeriCorps, we make up the bulk of AmeriCorps, our organization and branding kind of has some level of control over that. So if that were to happen, it would take like quite a bit of communication and stuff. So I think we would hear about it pretty soon, if that makes sense. So if that were to happen, they'll definitely message it out, but I have not heard anything about that right now. So I hope that helps. And as soon as I know the answers to these things, like obviously we'll let you know immediately, but there's just so much up in the air that we don't know yet. As far as the unemployment question, I wouldn't be worried about that personally. Most of the time, all of our stuff is budgeted out several years in advance because we're AmeriCorps. So it's not like we're dependent on financing through like personal donors or anything like that. Because you're through the government, things should be okay.
I have a question in the chat. It says, do you have any tips dealing with the change in altitude when we first get to Denver? I'll go first. Pedialyte saved my life. And drink a lot of water. Like if you think you drink a lot of water, drink more. Because it's gonna take a couple weeks. It hits everybody different. I didn't get like sick, like I didn't throw up or anything from altitude sickness. I've heard that people have, but I definitely wouldn't go hike a 14er your first like month here. That's gonna be rough.
Also, can I just say, as like I'm from here, I've climbed a lot of 14ers. If you are considering doing that, please talk to me first, because it's not gonna be what you're expecting. And I see way too many people like stroll up there not prepared. So if that's something you're interested in doing, like let me know and we can totally connect on it. Cool.
I'm gonna echo a lot of what Iliana just said. All the water, get a water bottle, bring it with you everywhere. You need it. Also, when you first get to Denver, your first couple of days, you'll probably feel fine. Altitude usually hits you like the third day. So if you want to go like a hike, like do it your first or second day in Denver, and then because if you try to do it your third day, you'll feel all that altitude. And also, if you are a runner or you like to work out a lot, give yourself time to adjust and definitely start small and then go big. And it's hot in Denver in the summer. Take it slow, drink water, don't pass out.
And if you want to go hiking your first couple of days, I would recommend kind of like an easier, more leisurely hike. You can go up to like Red Rocks Amphitheater, and there are some like nice trails up there that are like more casual, and like it's it's a cool like Denver landmark, so you still get to see that and like really cool views of the city. And so I would recommend something like that for your first one.
Yes, like everyone said, drink plenty of water. I'm very small, so like I had to drink plenty of water. You get what I'm saying? Like I had to drink plenty of plenty. I don't know. I'm silly, y'all. But yeah. And I feel like you have to like be aware of how you're breathing too. Like I don't know in yoga and stuff like that, you have to, I know I had to like, okay. And then like when I come back home in the South and stuff like that, like I'm home now and like my breathing goes really weird too. So just be like cautious of like your airflow and all that stuff, and drink lots of water.
So y'all saying if I don't have like a swell or like a hydro flask, I'm gonna look like an outsider and everybody's gonna know that I'm not from Denver immediately?
A little bit.
I
don't walk around with a hydro flask, but everybody else do. I'm not gonna lie.
They're probably gonna come up there looking like a cowboy and sounding like a hick. I don't need to stick out any more than that.
No, I don't have a swell or a hydro flask. One cool thing is we get these awesome Nalgene's. I don't know if you can read it, but it says AmeriCorps Colorado, and it has these mountains on it.
Oh, that's
and
dope.
So that's what I use.
Let's go. Yes.
So I'm gonna actually stop the recording there too, and then just let us move to like getting to know people. And obviously, if you have questions, still ask them. But I'll just